Good day, my friends. You're welcome back to the channel. We are continuing on our discuss on epidemiology, and today we are going to look at some of the objectives of epidemiology. Like I said before, epidemiology is the study of the determinants and distribution of health-related events. So that study that looks at health-related events, diseases, seatbelt use, many other things, that study that looks at it and looks at what are the determinants. I said before that determinants are the risk factors and the causes, or what is the distribution, which is the pattern and the frequency. Now look at the objectives. There are about 5 objectives of epidemiology, which we'll look at very quickly. Now, what do we mean by these objectives? We are saying, what does epidemiology hope to achieve as a study? What does it hope to achieve? Now, the first thing it hopes to achieve is that it wants to be able to identify the etiology of a disease, meaning that we want to be able to know what is causing this disease. This disease, is it caused by an infectious agent? Is it by a sexually transmitted disease? Is it a chronic disease? What is the cause of the disease? That's the first objective of epidemiology. So any disease that epidemiologists study or come in contact with, they want to find out what's the cause of the disease. Can it be linked to an infectious agent, or can it be linked to a set of conditions? When you have chronic disease, when you have disease like diabetes, you have cancer, all these different kinds of cancers, you can't link them to one causative agent. So epidemiology wants to know, to identify the etiology or the cause of a disease. Secondly, epidemiology wants to determine the extent or the spread of a disease. Where can this disease be found? What locality can it be found in? Who are the people that are a high risk population for this disease? Who are the people at higher risk of coming down with this disease? Epidemiology wants to know. So epidemiologists want to know the distribution and spread of disease. What locality can it be found in? Why is it found in that locality? These kind of questions are what epidemiology hopes to achieve as an objective. The third thing is to determine the prognosis or the natural history of a disease. Many times you see that people go to the hospital, somebody who has, for example, stage 4 cancer, the doctor could tell the person that you have 8 months to live. How does the doctor know that the person has 8 months to live when the doctor is not God? Now, the doctor knows this based on data that has been generated from looking at so many patients who have passed through this stage of cancer and what happened to them after coming to that stage. So epidemiology helps to look at prognosis and natural history of disease. It helps physicians, it helps public health specialists to be able to, predict the outcome of health events. And this is very, very important. This helps for planning, and this helps for many aspects of care. Number 4, now, epidemiology also wants to evaluate existing and new therapies, therapeutic measures that are put in place. Epidemiology wants to gather data on it to know if this thing is truly working or is not working. Now, let me give you a very quick example in this class. For an example, now there was a time when people were having goiter. Now you see that it's difficult to see goiter. That's thyroid dysfunction. And why is that? Because over time, the government now puts measures in many countries to make sure that people use iodized salt. So it's difficult for you to see people with goiter. So epidemiology is the one that gathers information, gathers data on such occurrences, knows that, okay, before we were using iodized salt, there are a lot of people with thyroid issues. And then after we have started using iodized salt, you do not have many of these kind of issues. So epidemiology is there to, evaluate new therapies vis-a-vis what was in use before and see whether these new therapies are better than the old therapies. Then the last thing that epidemiology has as an objective is that it's the foundation for policy making for government. There's no government that makes policies without data. Data is very important for a government to know where should it push its resources to within a country. Should it push it to maternal mortality? Should they push it to, there are many different issues. Should they push it to hypertension? Should they push it to under 5 nutrition? So for government to be able to make informed decisions, not only government now, policymakers, even NGOs, many organizations need data, and epidemiologists provide them with this data. And this data is analyzed, inferences are drawn, information can be, pulled out of this data so that this would help government, non-governmental organizations, all sorts of donor bodies make informed decisions. This is part of the objective of epidemiology. So thank you for listening to this lecture. We've just discussed 5 major objectives of epidemiology. Please like our content, share our content, and subscribe to our channel, and have a wonderful day.